All right. So, before I begin with the science series, I just want to recap what we did in the last class. So, the last class we looked at the evidence for the existence of God. And as part of the evidence for the existence of God, we looked at what evidence do we see? God has revealed Himself through the general revelation, which is what we see around us, the universe around us. One reason why the universe exists in the first place. And we see a design aspect in everything around us, in the planetary system, in the universe, in the life. Everywhere we see God's or an intelligent designer's hand behind fine-tuning so many things around us. So that tells us there is an intelligent mind that is greater than the human mind to bring things into existence and to continue to run these things and preserve this and keep moving. We also looked at and we also understand the existence of moral attributes or objective moral truth in our life. And I think to me that is the most important and the best evidence that we get to see. Because like an atheist who does not believe in God, he cannot actually live out an atheistic life. Because every time you say there is no God, you are saying that then there are no objective truth or objective moral values. And when I say there is no objective moral truth, then you cannot defend anything happening around you. You cannot feel bad about if someone robs you, someone does something wrong to you. You cannot really say that the person, what he's done to you is really wrong or that is evil. Because there is no standard by which you can say that the person is what is doing is wrong. So there is no good, there is no evil, there is no right, there is no wrong. And you practically cannot live on this earth keeping that kind of a mindset in attitude. You really cannot live out. So that moral attribute, which is Bible says is written in our hearts, are one of the strongest evidence that there is a mind that is prior to the human mind that has created and given this laws, the objective moral truth and laws to us. Also very important evidence is the resurrection of Jesus Christ, because no one claimed that he will die and rise again. It's only Jesus who made that claim. And Jesus' resurrection, which was witnessed by the gospel writers, very clearly says that it was not some kind of an hallucination or some kind of stories that they made up, but because they went to die for that belief, it tells us that they really saw the resurrected Jesus Christ. And when it comes to personal experiences, you cannot reject the personal experiences. If Muhammad says that he saw some spirit come and give him the revelation, we cannot reject that. So any person's personal experiences cannot be rejected. It can happen that the experience is wrong, but that's something that you cannot reject. All the personal experiences are always considered. And we have so many witnesses of the early church, the gospel writers, who made those claims and continue to live and die for that claim. So that's another important thing. And also one more evidence that we see is how each one's personal experience, how God has touched our lives, how God has interacted with us, how God has spoken His word towards us and led us through. So our own Christians' personal experiences also, even though we have not seen Him with our naked eyes or heard His voice yet, what the experience that we have in our life is a very strong evidence to believe that God exists and He intervenes in our life. He is part of our life. So that's the This is a key thing where we look for, how we can be sure that there is a God who really exists, and we are not living in a fancy world where we think, that God exists. No. Okay. So, having said that, today I'm going to start with the science series, and I pray and hope that this science series will also be a great experience. Yes, brother, Tintu brother, please go ahead. Yeah.
So I had a question related to last week's discussion. So my question is, so when we discuss with the atheist, they do cite that we look for a god in the gaps, right? So it's like something called as looking for God in the gaps. Like whenever there is something that science cannot explain, then we see, oh, it's divine, it's something like that. So in the earlier, they used to say that somebody used to say that when they used to observe the celestial bodies used to move, so they said that it's because of God. Then we understood it's not because of the God or something; it's because of gravity. So my point is like, how do we defend that perspective, or how do we say no? It's not God is not in the gaps, but rather how do we defend the points over there? Because if we say, let's say, looking at the finite details, they'll just say that, hey, science has not reached there, that's it, and that's the reason why you're able to say that's because of God. How do you define that position then?
Sure, that's a good question. Let me try attempting to answer that.
Sure.
So you must have heard the term called postmodernism, because I'm saying postmodernism because today that's a term that we very much use in today's world, that we live in a postmodern world. So postmodern world, if postmodern world, prior to postmodern world was the modern world, okay, and or called modernism, and prior to modernism was the pre-modern world. Okay, what is pre-modern world? These are, I'm referring to worldviews that people held. Okay, so pre-modernism is like the truth comes from God or revelation, or yeah, or traditional aspects. That's where we people believe truth, the source of truth was either God or uh, some kind of a tradition or a culture or aspects. So, as part of that, people believed, your point comes when they saw things moving, uh, they made such kind of a conclusion. Then came the world of modernism, where science was understood as the objective truth. Okay? So, when science was objected as an objective truth, they, I have this slide to talk about. So let me continue on my class, and I will very soon come to this particular slide, and I will talk about it. Is that okay, brother?
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds good.
Okay. All right. So yeah, I'll talk. I'll touch to that point. So let me share my screen and take this up. Just give me a second, because I have this a little difficulty in my system managing. This is what I am seeing. Okay. I hope you can see my screen. Okay. So, coming to the science series, what we are trying to establish here is the evidence for Bible's integrity in matters of science. We are not trying to prove science with the help of Bible, but what we are trying to do is the Bible withstanding the test of science? Okay. So coming to the objective is why we are studying this topic. Okay, and as I just mentioned a few minutes back, so we looked at okay, so we looked at the three worldviews: the pre-modern worldview, the modern worldview, and the postmodern worldview. So, as I mentioned, pre-modern worldview is when we believe the truth comes from God or revelation or tradition. Modernism is a worldview where they believe that science is the objective truth. And today, we are moved out of modernism into postmodernism. And as part of postmodernism, what we believe is a pluralistic culture or a pluralistic society. Okay, the truth is relative and it is shaped by different perspective or culture. Uh, we will look about postmodernism in later classes, as these are the little philosophical endpoint where we talk about. Okay, now coming to modernism. Okay, modernism is a worldview that came in late 19th century and early 20th century, where people believe that science is the objective truth, and it led to the rise of scientism. So, what is scientism? Is that they believe that science explained everything to be true. If something is not scientifically proven, it is false. So, for every reason, science should give an explanation. And anything that science is not able to prove it something was considered supernaturalism, and it was just a mythical belief system. So this was the mindset that people had in the time of scientism, or in the modernism worldview held. Okay, so it was influenced by the Enlightenment period, that is the age of reason, and human reason became the primary source of truth. And also we saw that man's ability to reason was just sufficient for everything. And also there was a lot of scientific advancement in that late 19th century or the early 20th century. We saw industrialization happening, so everybody believed in this concept. And also the early 20th century, we saw Darwin's theory of evolution coming in. So what this led to was a high level of criticism of the Bible. Bible was tossed around, and everybody said that Bible is not standing up to what science is proving. So that was a mindset that came during those time frame. But what happened was theologians and apologists started to work on this, and they started to defend the Bible. Almost, when it comes to apologetics, almost 200 years of work was done. It's active since 200 years, and a great amount of work was done. In fact, not only just 200 years, it was very prominent during the 13th century, 14th century, when Thomas Aquinas defended a lot of scientific, try to explain the scientific phenomenon with reference to the Word of God. But then it had died off, and then again it picked up. So we have come to a stage today where we live in a postmodern world, where we have moved out of modernism. Today we understand that science does not prove anything and everything. So we have come to that conclusion, that the question that you asked, God in the gaps. Okay, today the scientific world, those who are, I'm talking about people who are scientists, or who are from the academic field, they understand that science is not able to prove a lot of things. For example, the theory of Darwin. But during that time frame, it was quite a lot. It was hyped up, and everyone tended to believe. Today, our culture has changed. Today, we believe in postmodernism, and at some point, I will tell you what exactly is postmodernism. So this is, and brother, this is what I wanted to say is that science, today we have come to an understanding that science is not the answer for all, and today people don't look to science for all the answers. They understand science does provide, but because Bible was heavily criticized, and that culture tend to carry on, it is important that we understand and we know how to defend or how to give more detailed answers to the questions that arise. I hope I have touched. I know I may not have fully answered the question, but this is what I have to say. That
Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense. Thank you. Thank you, Shubhrata.
no problem. So, so coming to this, continuing on this on the same topic, as we have moved, the challenge, the church did face a lot of questions. Genesis chapter 1 to 6 was considered all just a story, or it was completely, you cannot stand with Genesis 1 chapter 1 to 6 before the world. It was immediately put off. So from there we have moved on, and today we are going to look into all of those questions. Okay, so before I move on, I want to understand from you all, again, the God of gaps. I want to go more detail into that, and I want to understand from you all as to what are the challenges that you all face when you all are reading the scriptures. I'm specifically talking about Genesis 1 to 6, which is heavily criticized, or or in general about the Word of God, what God is talking, which you think is not syncing with what you're studying in your school, your college, or what you have studied, or what you're seeing in the world. So I want to open up to understand from you what questions y'all face, or if someone has asked you a certain questions, some tough questions with regards to Bible and science. I want to know and hear from you before I move on with my, with my set of questions.
In regards to Genesis, one thing that comes up is the age of the earth. Like one they say is that where is the creation theory, when they say where does dinosaurs come into the play? Like there has been multiple extinctions that happened. So where does so did God extinct dinosaurs and then created humans? So that does that mean there was death already? So these are some of the questions, or were humans and dinosaurs there simultaneously? If so, then like those kind of questions, right? So yeah, with the ice age and things like that, that's something, because science says that, and the Bible accounts are not tallying with that.
Very valid questions, brother. Anybody else has anything that have come to your mind, and don't feel it's okay. Don't Doesn't matter. Just just a small group, so you feel free to express yourself. Okay.
In school, I've been asked like, how is God like alive and stuff?
How is God? Sorry, Mona, can you repeat that?
Like, like how is God like there before like everything?
Okay. Sure. We will talk about that.
Adding on to Jonathan's point, so that's a valid question. Some people ask, if God doesn't have a beginning, then cannot the universe also have a beginning? So that's something people ask.
Okay. We will sure touch on that. This is as part of the science series. We will touch. Okay. Assume nobody else has any other questions. In that case, I will set apart some questions that I have, that we have I've able to collect from different, some of our minds, some I've heard from other people. So let me go over it. Okay. So first, something I used to always wonder, like, how did the author of Genesis knew what happened at creation, because creation happened before him. So how did Moses know all about this thing? Okay, that's one question. The other one is, as you mentioned, the universe. How can a universe have a beginning when the science talked about that energy being eternal, and the earlier mindset was the universe was eternal, energy was eternal, it always existed. Today that perspective has changed for science, and we have come with new no boundary model, or the multi-universe model. So how what on this slide, on these questions. And then if you read the creation story, we'll see that light came on day one. Okay, in the beginning God said let there be light, and on day 4 we see actually sun coming in picture. So how is that there was light before, on day 1, when sun actually was there on day 4? Then how could such a massive earth be created, or this universe be created in 6 days? Today we have a picture of universe which is humongous. Okay, and how can that come in just 6 days of creation? They also questions about Bible. In Ezekiel chapter 28 we see the story of, not story, the account of Satan's rebellion and his time on earth. So where does that fit in the biblical account of creation? So while I go through these questions, I just want to refresh your mind, so that we have to consider every all of these aspects in our study. Okay, is Garden of Eden a real place or just a myth? Because today we are not able to have no clue or have no trace of something called as the Garden of Eden. Okay. Then the other one is, did today we have 8 billion population? Did we get this 8 billion population from one parent, Adam and Eve? So are they the original progenitor of humans, today's human population? Because as per computational biologists, this is something that is not achievable. And do we have any evidence that we really have somebody by the name Adam or Eve? Okay. Also, equally important question is, did human life exist outside the Garden of Eden? Okay. And these questions are not coming just out of random thoughts, but there are supporting statements to prove, or for this question to arise: were there people outside the Garden of Eden? Then how do we reconcile the chronology? Because biblical chronology shows that the earth is just 6,000 years old, or a little more than that, 6,000 years old, whereas the anthropology shows that the earth is much older. So how do you reconcile? Same question as brother you asked, the old earth, this thing. Then again, where does dinosaur fit in the creation story? Because we have evidence that there were dinosaurs. So where do they fit in? Also about Ice Age, and most important about Noah's flood, which is whether it was a local or a global flood. So these are some of the questions that I will address as part of my series, and also who made God is something that I will explain my way, and let's see how much we can get through that. So anything to add to this list before I move on?
Sorry again. Just one question. So regarding where their human life existing outside of Garden of Eden. So adding on to it, so I want to bring one Bible verse which says that when Cain was kind of marked. So he was kind of marked so that he doesn't get injured and stuff. So people cite that and say that there were other humans also, but Adam and Eve was the only chosen one. So like, how do we reconcile that? Like, how do we refute that, or like, what? How do we answer that?
Sure, very valid question, brother. I like that, to see that everybody is thinking in many forms. So I really appreciate that question. So I will speak through that. Okay.
ബ്രദറെ ഒരു ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ അവിടെ ഉണ്ട്. അത് നിങ്ങൾ കവർ ചെയ്തെന്ന് അറിയത്തില്ല, ഞാനിപ്പോൾ എല്ലാ സീരീസിലും കയറിയില്ലായിരുന്നു.
brother ഇച്ചിരി
നമ്മുടെ
ഓർക്കെ പറഞ്ഞേ.
ഞാൻ ജോലിയിലാണ് ഒരു മിനിറ്റ്.
ഓക്കെ
കേൾക്കാമോ?
കേൾക്കാം പറഞ്ഞു.
അതായത് നമ്മുടെ ആദാമിനും ഹവ്വായ്ക്കും കുട്ടികളുണ്ടായി, കയനും ഹബലും ഉണ്ടായി കഴിഞ്ഞിട്ട് പിന്നീടുള്ള ജനറേഷനെ കുറിച്ചുള്ള ഒരു കോൺസെപ്റ്റ് ഉണ്ട്.
ബ്രദറെ ശബ്ദം വരുന്നില്ല, ഇച്ചിരി ഓർക്കെ പറയാമോ? സോറി.
ഒരു മിനിറ്റ്.
അല്ലെങ്കിൽ എനിക്ക് മാത്രമാണോ കേൾക്കാത്ത?
ഒരു മിനിറ്റ്.
ഓക്കെ ഞാൻ എൻ്റെ വോളിയം ടോപ്പിലായിട്ട്.
No, it is low for most people.
അതെ, കേൾക്കാമോ?
കേൾക്കാം പറഞ്ഞോ.
നമ്മളുടെ ഈ ആദാമും ഹവ്വായ്ക്കും കയൻ ഹാബൽ ഉണ്ടായി കഴിഞ്ഞിട്ട് അതിനുശേഷം നെക്സ്റ്റ് ജനറേഷനെ കുറിച്ചുള്ളൊരു ഇതുണ്ടല്ലോ, അത് എങ്ങനെയാണെന്നുള്ളത് അത് നിങ്ങൾ നേരത്തെ സീരീസിൽ പറഞ്ഞോന്ന് എനിക്കറിയത്തില്ല. പക്ഷെ ഞാൻ ജസ്റ്റ് ഒന്ന് ക്ലിയർ ആയിട്ട് എക്സ്പ്ലെയിൻ ചെയ്യുകയാണെങ്കിൽ നല്ലതായിരിക്കും.
ഓക്കെ ബ്രദറെ, ഞാനും അതും പറയാം.
കവർ ചെയ്തായിരുന്നോ?
ഇല്ല, ഞങ്ങളിപ്പം തുടർന്ന് വി ജസ്റ്റ് സ്റ്റാർട്ടിങ് വിത്ത് ഇറ്റ്. അന്നേരം ഞങ്ങൾ കവർ ചെയ്തിട്ടില്ല.
You got my question, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so after Cain and Abel മരിച്ചു കഴിഞ്ഞിട്ട് പിന്നെ കൈൻ മാത്രമല്ലേ ഉള്ളൂ. പിന്നെ നെക്സ്റ്റ് ജനറേഷൻ വരുമ്പോൾ ഉള്ള ആ ഒരു ഇതുണ്ടല്ലോ, ഒരു കൺഫ്യൂഷൻ.
Sure. Very, very valid question, and we'll cover it. We may not cover everything in this class, but in the next two, I plan to complete it in 2 classes or 3 classes, okay? So stick around with it, make sure you attend, and I will address it. I will go in a flow so that, and I keep on, I have to address certain things before I even jump into that, because you should not interpret it in a wrong manner. Anybody should not interpret in a wrong manner. I want you all to have the exact correct knowledge, okay? So as I start, I always say that when it comes to things of the past and when it comes to things into future, Bible just gives a clue, which means that it is prone to interpretations, okay? And there are supporting verses. Some things are explicitly written in the Bible, while some are inferred because of supporting statements, and some things are understood via judgment. They are quite judgmental, or there are supporting statements, but you will also find equally other verses that do not support. So certain things are understood, are judgmentally understood. So these are the different perspectives that is available, and very important as a student of apologist, we must keep a very open mind to understand and accept different worldviews. You don't have to believe. You may reject it. You may not have to believe, but that's okay. There are people who believe certain belief systems, so we must be willing to accept that. Okay, there are people who have that kind of a viewpoint, and that's okay. Let them have that viewpoint. I may not align with that viewpoint, but it is okay, because whatever the Holy Spirit is revealing to me, I accept that. Okay, because I see a lot of people getting into conflicts because somebody else has a different worldview. So we must learn to agree to disagree. That's absolutely fine, because that don't make our make or break our faith or our belief system. There are fundamental doctrines which are non-compromisable, which are non-negotiable. You cannot compromise on it. We know all the fundamental doctrines. Other than all of these things, we must be willing to accept different viewpoint. And as me teaching you all, I will tell you the different worldviews. I'll portray everything before you, and I will tell you that this is what I believe, but you don't have to fully believe with me. That's absolutely okay. The whole point is, like, when somebody who is asked from outside is asking question, we should be able to give them a true perspective. That is what I am intending out of this whole session. Okay. And please feel free to raise your hand or interrupt and ask me questions, because when I am teaching, I am in that flow and I continue to go. So it's always it is better that you all, stop me and raise your hand, or even just, if I am not able to see your, that you have raised your hand, please, speak up so I can stop and allow you to ask questions. It's better that we clear the questions then and there and go on. Because I'm using multiple screens, I really don't. Sometimes I miss when somebody is not is raising the hand. I tend to miss it. Okay. Okay. So first of all, we understand there are different belief system. Okay. The first belief system that we talk about is called a naturalism, or the atheistic belief system. What does that belief system does? It believes that Big Bang, the universe was created through Big Bang as a process, and it is an unguided natural event. Unguided natural event. In my last class, I had mentioned what is unguided. It is not something, nobody guided that. There is no, not an, not, it was not created. It was Big Bang and unguided Big Bang. Okay. And as part of that belief system, that's for the how the universe came into existence. Second is about evolution. Okay, I will close the slide for now. Sorry. Sorry. Okay. Yeah. So evolution, out of these people who believe, they also believe that life came into existence by evolution, by natural selections. Do you prefer to see the slide? Is that better, or are you okay with me not sharing the slide? If that is something that is helping you all better, then I will share the slides.
I think sharing the slides may be better.
Okay.
At least for me.
Sure. I will do that in that case. All right. Okay. I think you can see my screen in this case. Okay. So evolution, they believe that evolution happened by natural selection. Okay? And I will explain that at some point in time. What does that mean? So whole point is there is no God involved in this picture. That's the atheistic, naturalistic, evolutionist viewpoint. Then there is a viewpoint which believes that there is a God who created this thing, and that universe and life originated from specific act of divine creation. Now I am talking about Christian creationism. I am not talking about the Hindu creationism or the Islamic or any other form of creation. They also believe in God, and they believe their gods created it. I will not talk about it, but when it comes to religious worldviews classes, I will touch a little bit out of it, because let me tell you something. The way the Christian creationism is, we are not, none of these people are anywhere close to that. Okay, so within the Christian creationist, there is some set of people who believe are called as literal creationist or the young earth creationist. So they believe that this earth is very young, in the sense is just 6,000 to 10,000 years old, and they believe that God created this earth in 6 literal days of 24 hours. That's the young earth creationist who believe. Then there is a belief system called theistic evolution, which believes that God created, this universe through the Big Bang process, but through he set the natural laws and he let the evolution take his own course, where God brought all the right material, right electron, the initial condition, and he started it off, and then through evolution, life came into existence. So they believe in evolution, but it is a theistic evolution. But God is the source, or He is the one who started the process, and He is the one who controls the process. So they believe in theistic evolution. Then there is something called as progressive creationism, which believes that God has specifically created each and every species of plant, animal, and human being without use of evolution, and the days of creation refers to long period of time. They believe in the 6 days of creation, but it is not a 24-hour creation. This is called as progressive creationism. Then the next one, which is equally prominent, is the gap theory. What Anianti, you said last time, when it's also called as the ruin restoration theory. Most of the Pentecostals teach this gap theory, that there is a gap between Genesis chapter 1 verse 1 and Genesis chapter 1 verse 2. So Genesis chapter 1 verse 1 is one creation, and Genesis 1 verse 2 is a second creation, two distinct creation. So the first creation, Genesis 1 verse 1, is like a many billions of years old earth. Okay, and then there was a gap where the earth lay uninhabited, and God then recreates or refurbishes the earth from Genesis chapter 1 verse 2. And the creation days is a 24-hour creation days. He refurbishes the earth in 6 days from Genesis 1 verse 2 onwards. So these are the prominent belief system. There are many belief systems. There are converging belief systems. There are people who mix these two beliefs, but I am not giving importance to any of those prominent views. So this is the key belief system that we have today, and we find among Christians and non-Christians also. So I want to ask you, when you look at this, what is your point of view? What do you think? I really want to hear from you. See, again, doesn't matter. It's not about who is right, who is wrong, and I'm not here to judge, or anybody's here to judge. I want to understand what makes you think something is true. And I know you may not have studied this in detail, but it's okay. I want to hear from you. What do you think? Where do you fit yourself in this viewpoint?
Somewhere in between. Okay, two of them combined, maybe progressive creationism, gap theory. So combination of both, I guess. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Anybody who is a literal creationist, young earth creationist? All right, no problem. I will. What I prefer after studying in depth is the progressive. Yeah, go ahead.
By the way, sorry to say. So having said that, even though I believe in this thing, I know God can even do the other things. Like literally in 6 days, God can do. So I'm not objected to it, but I mean, God doesn't say that. It doesn't say what it is. So based on that, based on the logics, the second and the third and the fourth is what I think. Yeah.
Yes, brother. I completely agree with you on that point. It's not like God cannot do any of this, and God can definitely do anything. Only thing is, what is making more sense to me personally, and how I can defend better with a particular worldview. I can do with all of these, because they are not these theories are, or this belief system of not come out in the air. Every belief system, people have enough points to talk about. So all of them have strong points to talk about. And so gap theory, by the way, gap theory was very prominent for a long time. But now that theory is losing its relevance. Okay. But it is very interesting to study the gap theory also. And I believe the truth may be that both gap theory and progressive creation can go hand in hand in many of these things. Okay, now this progressive creationism is something that's been quite popular, made popular by, or rather, who brought into existence is by an astrophysicist by the name Hugh Ross. He is from Canada. He has his organization called Reasons to Believe, and I'm going to teach on that initially. So that's where my source of information and data comes from. Okay, Hugh Ross, Reasons to Believe. So before I move into that, I also want to. The reason I don't personally believe in literal creationist is I believe there are multiple reasons. One is the way we arrived at a 6-day or a 6,000 years old Earth is by adding up the number of the genealogies that is mentioned in the Bible. But I fully understand, and many Bible scholars also believe that genealogies cannot be used to reconstruct the age of the earth for many reasons, because the author, when he is writing, he has something in his mind, and to achieve that, he does something called as selective genealogies or selective. He's been selective in his writing. So there are a lot of things that's got omitted. For example, in Matthew chapter 1 verse in 8, when Matthew is giving the genealogy, he says Joram beget Uzziah. Between Joram and Uzziah, there are 3 generations, but Matthew skips the 3 generations and moves from Joram to Uzziah. Similarly, you will see when Moses is blessing, he counts 12 tribes, but in that 12 tribe, he is deleting Simon, and instead of that, he is adding Joseph's sons, Ephraim and Manasseh. So there are many evidence that you will come to know that genealogies are not perfect. Even the age, like age of Adam, how were they done? Age of Adam plus age of Seth, and so on. They keep on going on. That again is not really perfect. So we know that you cannot count the age of the people and come up to a number that the earth is 6,000 years old. Also, what archaeological evidence that we have found so far? We have found evidences of things that are 300,000 years old, 150,000 years old, and so on. So that does not match with my understanding, and that's why I am not a literal young earth creationist, but I believe I'm an old earth creationist, and I believe the earth is 4.6 billion years old, as what science teaches, and the universe is 13.7 billion years old. Now moving on, we're going to enter into, we're going to study something called as biblical cosmology. So what is biblical cosmology? Okay, biblical cosmology refers to ancient pre-scientific understanding of universe structure, origin, and purpose as written by the writers of the Bible. And biblical cosmology has 4 aspects. One, that space-time has a beginning. That means the universe had a beginning. Second, the universe is continually expanding. Third, the physical laws are constant. And fourth, the pervasive law or the universal law of decay. That is, everything will come to an end on this universe or this earth. So this is the biblical cosmology, which I will deep dive. To begin with, does universe have a beginning and an end? Okay. As for a long time, science believed that universe existed eternally. It was always there, and it is static. That is the understandings that science held for a long time. But if you look into Bible, there are about a dozen verses that tells us that space and time came into existence at one point in time. as a Christian, as from Bible we read that God created the universe ex nihilo, or out of nothing. Hebrews 1 verse 11 verse 3 says, by faith we understand that universe was created by the word of God, so that what is seen was not made out of things that are visible. Which means God did not use any of the material that exists today to make this earth. That's Hebrews 11 verse 3. And in Psalms it says that the heaven and the earth was created by the breath of his nostrils. Okay. So now if you look at all of these verses, it tells you one thing, in the beginning God created, in that day. Okay. And then created these things, the Lord who created the heavens and stretched them out. Okay, I have bolded the key part in these verses, and this tells us that universe has a beginning in finite time, and the beginning of space and time coincides with the beginning of the physical universe, and the material universe what we see today are not made out of the substance. The universe is not made from any of the visible substance that we see. So biblical cosmology says that universe has a beginning, space and time had a beginning. That means it has to be brought into existence by somebody who is outside space, who is timeless, who is spaceless, who has got unfathomable power to bring into existence. The next thing is we came up with, I'll move, what does science say today? With the discovery, or with the theory of general relativity of Einstein theory, the E is equal to mc square, science today believes that universe has a beginning. They stand from universe being eternal to universe being having a start date. And science also says the universe is expanding. Now, what happened was, after Einstein came up with this theory of general relativity, there was a Russian scientist who identified an error in Einstein's calculations, and he fixed that error. So with the fixing of error, okay, his name was Alexander Friedman. He said that either the earth will continue to expand forever, or will contract, or will come to an end. So today science believes that the universe is expanding. It had a beginning, it is expanding, and the laws of physics are constant and across every frame of reference. And also the second law of thermodynamics, or the law of entropy, says that the universe will eventually decay. So what does this law of entropy, or the second law of thermodynamics, says is that things move into a cold state. So for example, if you take a cup of coffee and you keep it there, right now it is very hot, but over a period of time it starts to become cold. Okay, you cannot move from cold to hot without intervention. So this is the law of thermodynamics. It says that, okay, I will move on to that. So as I said, the second thing that the biblical cosmology says, that the universe is expanding. It is a continuous expansion. We have again got more than how many, 12 to 13 verses that says that the universe is expanding. Okay, it's like he alone spreads out the earth, who stretches out the heavens and spreads them like a tent. Okay, and so many verses that says that God is stretching the universe. The word stretching, we are not, also remember, we are not trying to read science into the text, but each and every verse is so powerfully talking about an expanding universe. So Bible cosmology says that the universe is expanding, And very important thing is the rate of expansion. Okay, so the universe has undergone continual expansion from the time till today and into the future. If the rate of expanding was little more rapid, then what would have happened is then the gravity would not have been strong enough to concentrate gases and dust and form astronomical objects. And if, on the other hand, the universe was expanding slower than what it was before, then the only astronomical objects that would have been formed would have been black holes or neutron star. So in either case, if it was expanding at a higher rate or at a lower rate, life on Earth would never been possible at any time. So in order for the physical life to be possible in this universe, the cosmic expansion rate is very fine-tuned, and it is like 10 raised to the power of 55. So that is the level of, even it was a little more or less, we would not life, it would have been impossible for life to exist. So it says this proves that there is somebody who has fine-tuned it. We know it is God who has designed it, fine-tuned it, and put the laws and set everything in order, like what we discussed last class, that we have an intelligent designer behind this formation of the universe. So second aspect is continuous expansion. The third is the physical laws. We realize Bible says the laws is constant. God created the laws and kept it that way. That Jeremiah chapter 33 verse 25 says that if I have not made my covenant with the day and night, okay, and established the laws of heaven and earth. So and Romans 8:20, it says, but by the will of one who subjected, hoping the creation itself will be liberated from its bondage to decay and brought into freedom and glory of the children of God. So that again says that the entire universe is subject to physical laws, which are very constant. As we discussed, we don't know how it is constant unless somebody has made it constant. The next one is the last aspect is the law of decay. That universe has an ending in finite time. Okay, as I mentioned just a few minutes back, that after us today the universe is expanding, but after a while you'll see a drop in the temperature, and the expansion will cool off, and finally it will there will be the universe will end to end. And Bible verses says that the law of decay, Bible says that God has kept his earth for destruction, for fire. And but when will it happen? Romans 8 verse 18 says the law of decay will cease to operate once the full number of people who have chosen to accept God's redemption has been reached, and the moment when evil and even the possibility of evil is permanently removed from God's creation, the pervasive law of decay will take place. So what this means is, what is biblical cosmological implication? That that it proves one thing: the universe had a beginning, it is continuing to expand, and there is a cosmic beginner, a cosmic creator, and the universe has been fine-tuned for life to exist by an intelligent designer, and it is not by time plus matter plus chance or just random chance. It is not by unguided force. All of these tells us that it's not by unguided force, but by a perfect designer. So these are the biblical cosmological implications. I know we are at the top of the time. I will quickly show you this slide, and then move. We can close for today. So this is scientific timeline. What does scientific timeline talk about? Okay, what it says is, I shown the slide last class, that life began. What universe is? The universe began 13.7 billion years ago through the process called Big Bang, where the laws of physics came into action, and it was uncaused. Okay, and there are numerous models that exist. And I will explain when I deal into Stephen Hawking's theory. I'll explain that to you. And it says that the timeline that the Earth was formed about 4.5 billion years ago. The first confirmed appearance of life is 3.8 billion. Cambrian explosion took place 540 million back, and human life originated 150 between 150 to 50,000. The human Adam should be the age of Adam should be 150 to 50,000 years old. So this is scientific timeline. I want you to keep this in mind. Um, we will next dwell into creation story and account of creation, and we will see how does creation timeline fit, and does scientific timeline and creation timeline go hand in hand. So that is what we will study in the next class. So looking forward to go deeper into Genesis chapter 1 in my next class. So having said that, I will close my class here, and in case you have any questions, please feel free to ask me, or you want to add something. And is this something that you are expecting to learn something different in my next class? Please let me know. So assume no questions, no comments.
No, there's. I think we just have to wait. Like, this is the beginning, and you've given us the basics. So I just had one question. Why did that theory, of the Genesis one, why did it become unpopular? What was wrong? Why did that change come?
Two things. There is a lot of gap, actually, lack of evidence. Scientifically, you cannot prove a lot of things. In the sense, it involves a lot of supernatural elements which cannot be proved. And that's why, and when progressive creation became popular, it automatically started losing its relevance. For a great amount of time, everybody believed that. See, there are many questions that are not answerable with gap theory. But gap theory does talk a lot about Satan's role in the entire picture. But
Right.
there is no evidence.
Evidence.
I will go on that in detail when I go into that. So today what they say is that all the artifacts that's been discovered, with excavation, what is being brought, what is the archaeological evidence, they say that these existed in a world where Satan was ruling this earth. So all the old structure, the technology is something that has been given by Satan. But for that, we don't have much evidence to prove any of those things. People believe that dinosaur lived in a time when it was his cosmos. When Satan is huge. So in his cosmos, Satan, lived. Dinosaurs lived in that time frame. But
So, no, so you said you believe in that the second one, right? So,
progressive creation, yeah.
and according to that, can you just briefly, repeat why you believe that, and what did you find different from the second and the? I know Tinto said he'll go between the two, but why do you specifically go with only that?
Because in the next class, when I explain Genesis 1, chapter 1, I feel it's very strongly giving me evidence to believe in that entire process. And I also believe that Satan was there, but at what time frame? Somewhere in this 4.6 billion, Satan existed on this earth and he ruled at some time. But I cannot exactly say which time frame. Yeah, and this makes when I explain to you, you will understand why I'm coming to that. I don't want to disclose at this point,
Yeah.
but there are many factors. If you go verse by verse of Genesis, I feel that will, gives me more confidence to believe in a progressive creation rather than a
Yeah.
gap theory. And this gap theory is mainly coming from extra biblical sources, that is, Jewish sources, that they believe there was children of light and children of darkness living on this earth. These are extra biblical informations coming from um, Jewish uh, Jewish sources, and I somehow I understand that Jewish people, they have a lot of blind faith, so they've got many things wrong as well. So yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, dear brother. We'll wait for your.
Yeah, next class I will
Okay, sure.
explain.
Thank you.
I wanted to take time and go slow, and that's the reason I didn't want to rush through this one. Okay.
Sure.
Uh,
Thank you.
Shuguru, just one more thing, maybe not for today, but I thought I'll just ask you, like regarding what you were discussing with Annie Auntie right now. So when in Genesis chapter 6, Nephilim is mentioned, it said that sons of gods or that the daughters of men. So do we have any explanation for that in extra biblical Jewish accounts?
Yes, we have, and I will talk about that as well.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, but again, these are extra biblical informations. We don't have scientific evidence to prove that, but and people interpret extra biblical things in. There are multiple points of view, but I will tell what I have understood about the Nephilims, for sure.
Okay. Okay.
So I will address all of these questions. We will address. First, I'll go through the chapter 1 to 6, and then I will move on because I know the start and the end. I prefer to go in slowly, and then we will address.
Okay.
And any questions, keep asking me so I can make sure that it is included in my syllabus.
So, Shubha, the one last question I had was regarding the chronology, right? In the Genesis 1, it first is light, then, you have all the things. Technically, after the plants and vegetation is where they say the sun is created, sun and the moon is created, right? So, is it absolute? Is the chronological order in the Bible absolute, or is it just a poetic expression, basically?
It is 100% absolute.
Okay.
Perfect. It is impossible for Moses to get this numbers correct. It is impossible.
Hmm.
And Moses gets it all right. And remember,
So,
Moses is writing like 3,000 years back, he is writing. And today we are living in 3,000 years. We have so much of knowledge, we have so much of information. We have seen the universe outside. Everything we know. And today we know that these numbers are so accurate. How did Moses get these numbers so accurate?
So basically, does that mean that once the plants and vegetations were formed on the earth, then technically the sun was formed? Is that like how we are understanding
You
it?
have to wait till
Okay, all right,
next
all right.
class. Again, before I begin, there are certain things I have to set in, I have to explain and put in order. Otherwise, you can get things wrong.
Okay,
And I will
got it.
tell you why people get things wrong. So I have to go through that process to explain that.
All right. Okay.
I
So
think Blessy Saji had, I don't know if Blessy or Saji had a question. They had their mic on and off. I
yeah.
don't know.
Yeah, the one thing that was in my mind always was about the existence of angels. Where, like, was there creation before Genesis 1:1? Like, before God even considered creating earth? Or were they always there with God since the beginning?
Yes. So my next slide will actually is the creation timeline. We'll talk about. I showed it last week, and I don't mind sharing it. Uh, now one more time, I'll just share this thing. I'll talk about it in detail, but I will just talk about. I hope you can see my slide creation.
Yeah.
Okay, is it too small? So this is biblical timeline. Okay, so we start with creation. Before that, so this is physical reality that we are living in, okay, which we can see: space, time, matter, energy. Prior to physical reality, we had ultimate reality, the invisibles, where the angelic world, thrones, dominion, powers, all of these existed. And yes,
Okay,
we
thank
will
you.
also talk about, like, the universe is really big, massive. So with a massive universe, the most important, the climax of this is who made God, is something that I want to talk about. So if I talk about who made God now, it'll lead into confusion. So I have to set everything in order. That's my last class, where I will talk about a little bit of physics to understand all of these things. But I hope I will slowly take you up to that point to understand that thing. And we think our heaven is like as small as, like our sanctuary, probably. That's all we think. But heaven is really massive, and we'll we'll explore into that.
Okay,
So
thank you.
yeah, stay tuned, and we have some interesting classes coming up.
Sure, brother. So to answer that question on in the few questions you showed us, right? Like, how did the author of Genesis know all these details before he even existed? So did you? So your answer to that, did you answer that? I'm just wondering, did you say something to that? I know you said now absolute when you answered Tintu's question saying Moses was absolutely correct, but like, to answer that other question, how did the author of Genesis know all these even before he existed? What is your answer for that?
So I have answered this question as part of my first class on the Bible. We saw that God literally came down on this earth, on Mount Horeb, and gave the law. It
Right.
says that the 70 elders, including Moses, Aaron, Abinadab, they went up to the mountain. They saw God. I mean, I'm not saying that they saw the face of God, but it says they saw God. They sat over there, ate the food. So who will give? It is God who gave, and Moses continued to talk to him on the next 40 years. So God literally gave those information to Moses. Otherwise, Moses would not have got it 100% accurate.
No, thank you. I kind of thought that on that line, but I wasn't sure whether you had specifically answered, but rest. I remember that when you say that. Yeah, thank you. It just came to my mind when as closing comment.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
No problem.
thank you.
Sorry, Shiv, just one more question. Sorry, I know.
No, please go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, this is something someone asked me when we were discussing that God created the heaven and earth. So what he told me is that the Bible was written by humans the way they understood things long back. And he was saying that there could be a teeny tiny possibility that the life exists somewhere else in the universe. So how do we defend that?
So far we don't know. In our visible world, we know that life does not exist. Yesterday only I did some research to see possibly that life is the NASA has gone a lot deeper into, but they have found one planet very similar to that, but it is not we have not found anything that life is existing. But I don't reject that life can exist in some other planet. I am 100%, I'm confident that life can exist somewhere else. So it is possible for life to exist. God must have created and kept some other. So universe is big. So some other solar system in some other planet, life could exist, and it may not necessarily be human life. It could be some other forms of life. And the universe is so big. God must have given, his dominion is really, really massive. So yeah. So I understand that, yes, life. I take that point that life could exist, some form of the other. But the accuracy in our Bible, when you explain the accuracy, you will, when I explain this thing, you will get the accuracy of.
Okay.
So which leads to that question. So only human life was worthy to be saved, that the Savior needed to come down, and the other life, if it exists in other planets, did not need salvation.
Yeah.
Then that would naturally lead to that question, right? If you
Yes.
believe that there could be a possible life in some way, shape, or form, not in necessarily human form, which means then that life, like we know, right? As Christians, we are redeemed. You understand my question?
Yes, yes. No, absolutely, absolutely. We as humans are redeemed. It could be a totally in some other. It is so massive that in some other universe, there is some other form of life, and in that world, sin may not have even entered. Even Satan may not have a presence over that. It is totally a different dominion altogether, where Satan is not even be part of that world. Because when you study the physics dimensions, you have different dimensions, 1, 2, 3. I will explain. Seventh dimension, eighth dimension. Today science believes that the eighth dimension or seventh dimension is when you can do time travel. You can move from one universe to another universe. So there could be multiple universes. This is science things. There are multiple universes. Of course, these are all their assumptions. But I would not. Nothing can stop our God from creating multiple universes, and multiple system can exist. Over you. But even more than that, I will also say that when you look into the life on earth, okay, were there people outside the Garden of Eden? It's a very valid question, and I will touch on that as well. So, yeah. So the thing is that we must be open to understand that all of these things are possible, and we should not, think we are the only ones living on this earth. But one thing is important: even though we are the only ones, God coming down from heaven for our sake is amazing.
Absolutely. No, yeah, no, it just went into, and you said it. That's a question, natural question that, because we so far we will, even these astronauts and everybody, like they went to the moon and there's no life there, right? So to actually prove and to believe that there is life, okay, that, like you said, there's nothing impossible with God. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Then it is, it's kind of different.
Because when people die, where are we going? Where is God placing us? We are got in glorified bodies. So where does God place us? So yeah, all of these things in Revelation we see the throne room of God, so massive, the throne room of God, and something we should try to get. We see only we can interpret what is written in the Bible, take it as a clue, and understand that thing. So it's in the invisible world has got a lot of people. I am talking about things that is mentioned in the Bible. The powers, dominions, what does they mean, and those things also is very important to understand that humans are nothing. Humans are very small. There's a world. Yeah, that's part of my slide to show you. So we will see this portion. I'll just share this to show you, just to create enthusiasm and. So this is what we see. This is what we understand from our biblical standpoint. So this is, so there are a lot of things. We have the elders, the chariot bearers, the fallen angels. Then we have our world. Then Hades. All of these things are there. The principalities, powers. All of these things come into picture. So we should look. We look into all of these. Who are the other participants that's mentioned in the Bible?
Okay.
So.
Thank you, Shiva.
So we look forward for next class, and I was thinking like 1 hour of information is too much, so I stopped it. Otherwise, I would have gone to that, but it's okay. I will.
No, usually we have a Thursday prize at 8, so that's okay. We can. Today we didn't have it because tomorrow we have the meeting. So today I was okay to sit, but it's okay. We can go if it goes a few more minutes. It's not the end of the world. It's surely fine.
Yeah, I am just, I want to be very mindful. I know you all are busy with so many things in life and you all are taking out time to here. I'm very mindful that I give value to your time and I don't want to, delay your time. So I just want to stick with, make sure that I give you real good content and, value your time. I'm very mindful about your times.
Oh, we appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you all. We'll see you next Thursday. Please try to attend and we will cover it up. Okay.
Thank you. Okay. Bye.
All right. Bye.